In the Ukraine conflict, the Western nations joined together under the leadership of the United States and acted as a coalition against Russia. The sanctions against Russia were highly coordinated, and the West seemed to have figured out how to act as a single entity, despite some differences within its members. The unity shown by the West against Russia seems to be missing when it comes to China. In the last few years, China and the US are deeply suspicious of each other, and a storm is brewing in their relationship. The two superpowers are having a strong disagreement on the issue of Taiwan. Joe Biden, the US president, has repeatedly told that the US will involve directly in defending Taiwan, militarily. Xi Jinping has condemned America for such support, and has openly claimed it will annex Taiwan, either peacefully or by using force. Recently, China conducted a simulation of how their ships will invade Taiwan and attack the island nation in case of an actual war. Though China is in no position to wage a war against Taiwan, let alone the US, it's difficult to predict Xi Jinping's behavior. Many speculate that the Chinese leader may use an invasion on Taiwan as a diversion if there is a rebellion within China. So, the question becomes, if China goes to war with Taiwan, how many Western nations will join the United States in defending Taiwan? It's not clear if the current coalition of the West will stay intact in case of a war with China. This issue has become a hot topic after the French President, Emmanuel Macron, implied that France would like to stay in the middle in a fight between China and the USA. After his recent trip to China, this statement created a big uproar all around the world, especially in Europe. Poland and Germany issued strong statements and expressed their commitment to support the US in an eventual war with China. However, the damage was already done. It raised serious questions in the minds of many, including the US politicians, if the Western nations will stand together in their fight against China. While China welcomed and rejoiced the crack they see within Europe, many Western nations were shocked at the statements issued by the French president. In the past few decades, Europe has become heavily dependent on China both with their imports and exports. After all, Europe has just followed the footsteps of the US in importing many manufactured goods, as well as medicinal ingredients. When Western Europe reduced their energy imports from Russia, it has hurt Europe in many ways, leading to a large-scale inflation in food and energy, as well as shortage in food in some nations. But cutting off from China will hurt a lot more. Germany is one of the few major economies of the world, which has trade surplus with China. So, they export more in goods and services to China than they import. If Germany sides with the United States, there will be widespread unemployment in Germany. Already the Russia sanctions has hurt the German economy, and many of their local industries are suffering with lack of energy supply. The German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, has tried to balance his country's economic interests, but still siding with America on foreign policy issues. Unlike his predecessor, Angela Merkel, who maintained strong bonds with the Chinese, and was extremely sensitive to the Chinese, Scholz has taken a strong stand in his opposition to China on many issues. Japan, South Korea, and Australia believe that they have an existential threat if Taiwan is allowed to be annexed by China. So, they will definitely join the United States militarily in defeating China. In fact, most of these nations have current disputes with China, both politically and economically. There are many other European nations, big and small, including the United Kingdom, Netherlands, and Italy, as well as other NATO members, who will join the American forces in the event of an open war between the two superpowers. So, it appears that the current Western coalition against Russia is largely intact if a war breaks out between the US and China. However, most of these nations are democratically elected who are answerable to the voters. So, the public sentiment towards an involvement in the war becomes an important parameter for them to be able to involve militarily. After all, a military conflict with China is not going to be easy. There will be enormous suffering that these coalition partners will have to endure. Ultimately, every nation will end up looking at their own national interest and make the final call. Thanks for watching.